all in my ass.
We're back. And it's time to get into what we missed in the last 2 weeks in the NFL and what's coming up as soon as Saturday.
Soon as Saturday, that's right. Playoffs start on Saturday.
Oh yeah, we get
Yeah.
we get football.
It's like the Texans' 8th straight year at the the first wild card
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Honestly, do they get to? Is there a point where we just get to give the AFC South winner like a different game, like the inaugural NFL playoffs opening
Call it the
game?
play-in game.
That'd be funny. I mean, they're like, when you look at it, they are some of the smallest markets, just excluding Houston, in the league.
But then Houston's the one that continues to get shit on the most because they're the ones who always win that sad sack division.
And they always lose that game.
Sort of.
So
Yeah.
I mean, they basically are. I mean, it's funny to think about that division as a whole and what it's been since like after the fall of Peyton Manning.
yeah, I mean, I was gonna say outside of Peyton Manning and then 1 year of good Cam, it's been sparse.
Wait, Cam?
Oh, I was thinking, yeah, sorry,
Not
I
Cam.
went NFC South there.
You mean like one or two good years of Tennessee Titans football?
You get a couple of random Tennessee years. You get Houston going through a couple of different weird iterations.
Game.
Yeah, you get the Blake Bortles Jags peaking.
Really, the most interesting thing in that division is Tennessee always wearing the Oilers jerseys against the Texans.
Which I am pro that. I think Houston should have the rights to those, but I appreciate that level of petty for the people who do own it.
Absolutely. People call it Bush League. I'm like, no, this is how you get under the other team's fan base's skin.
What else do the Titans have to do right now? I mean, is it true that they're potentially pissing Dion off already? Like, what a fun position to be in for the Tennessee Titans.
What are they telling him? They're going to draft one of his kids?
No, they just fired the guy who kind of led them into the position to be able to, have a lot of assets to go into this rebuilding project. He was,
Dion?
He's a black man, and I don't know if Dion knew him or not, but Dion retweeted it and I think took notice.
GM.
And it was another series of moves where it's like we fire somebody for doing what you hired them to do. Like the patience in sports debate is just ridiculous.
Fire their GM before they fire their coach or with their.
Well, I'm a very big believer in like if you're gonna fire one, you fire both, so both get. I guess the next iteration are in the same timeline.
You give the GM a couple of head coaches, like sometimes you'll give a head coach a couple quarterbacks or whatever.
No, I think that's all fair. I don't understand how any of this works because I've never seen a normal situation.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? To some extent, neither have I.
You don't think
it's just different?
GMs have IMDb pages?
Actually, yes, there's got to be, yeah, in the ownership in NFL, yeah. I don't think Jerry's the only one on IMDb.
Yeah, because wasn't some real ones in draft day or whatever it's called?
Yes, technically,
probably does have some. You're right.
Draft day definitely for sure, but honestly, you could go as simple as like John Lynch probably breaks that, Like, I'm sure John Lynch did something acting-wise over his career.
I'll check it out.
I mean, he's probably on IMDb, let alone for just broadcasting.
I mean, acting credit, you know what I mean?
But, I wouldn't be surprised if you could find an acting credit somewhere, even if it's just some bullshit bit part in a local thing. Where did he go to school? Didn't John Lynch also go to a famous school?
Maybe. Who knows? He was right.
It was a long time ago. I would not have watched John Lynch in college. I 100% know that. John Lynch won a Super Bowl the first year I watched.
He was born in 71.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Lynch was going out of the league as we were starting to watch.
John Elway.
He did one episode. John Lynch did one episode as John Lynch on the show Arliss in 2001.
Oh, Arliss kicks ass, bro. I haven't gotten that far into Arliss yet, I don't think.
He was a Stanford guy. Makes sense.
Stanford, yeah, that makes that's what it was.
All right, fair enough. But he wasn't. I don't think he was a GM.
No, that's how I could. Yeah, that's
and then still playing football.
Honestly, what about Elway? You think Elway's done it
while he was GM? Maybe
John Elway while he's GM feels possible. Feels like there's a real chance of John Elway. What other ex-player?
Been GM?
Who ran the Ravens? Who ran the Ravens for a while?
God,
Uh,
no, not Ollie.
John Elway has
Otto.
played himself in 4 TV shows and 1 maybe documentary or movie, but nothing since 2007. I don't think he was in charge.
I can't remember his name. He was such a good general manager too.
Ozzie Newsome.
Ozzie Newsome. Yeah, I knew it
He
started
Played
with
for
an
the
O.
Browns because he played for the Browns and then he came over with the Browns.
You think Ozzie Newsome was acting?
I don't know. He was a general manager and ex-player for so long. Al Davis. And
feel like
Jerry
it would've-
played himself technically. Jerry did play himself. So that
Yeah,
does
but it's
count.
an actual acting credit, and it's while he's GM. Ozzie Newsome was in something called Masters of the Gridiron in 1986, so he was not GMing the Baltimore
No,
Ravens, who didn't
definitely
exist
not.
at that time.
Definitely
No, I
not.
don't think you're gonna be able to find an active GM with an acting credit while they.
What
were
about Al
active GM.
Davis?
God damn it.
He was never a GM.
Yeah,
Oh wait, who ran? Okay, so shit.
I mean, he
Yeah.
burned through GMs and coaches so
Yeah, you're
over
right.
time.
Mike Mayock actually is probably the most likely other one to have one.
Mm-hmm. Fuck. What about Gruden? Did Gruden ever get GM rights? Sean Payton? Sean Payton had a movie about him.
He's not a GM.
Wasn't Sean Payton running
No,
GM for?
No, man,
Saints at that
they
point?
had somebody
And
else.
The movie made about him was when he was suspended from coaching.
That's true. I forgot he got
Mike Mayock
suspended.
does play himself in Draft Day, but I don't think he's the GM.
No, I think he's just an analyst still.
Yeah, Mickey Loomis is a GM for the Saints. He's been the Saints
Right,
GM since
yeah,
2006.
yeah,
the Saints.
okay.
Point
All right, well,
stands. I'm glad we did
2000.
that. Good IMDb search game.
We- appropriate use of time.
I'll do further research, see if there is anybody.
I mean, honestly, I think we've
Likely
we've
older.
exhausted the resources.
Man.
It'd be older, but I don't think GMs were a thing back when like Too Tall Jones was doing acting on sitcoms. So
Yeah.
I mean, they
were.
existed, but they didn't. No one knew who they were.
And I feel like the old stereotype is very accurate for the original, old 50s, 60s business sports guy was just a short, chubby, balding guy. Every time.
100%.
10 out of 10.
Probably with
Counter.
thick frame glasses too. Probably.
Every time. Yeah. Something like it was just every time that was the archetype. There's so many in the history of the NBA. It's just like looking at the same guy multiplying. It's like the Buddha, how he started. He just kept dispersing himself to build basketball. I don't know.
Fair enough. All right. Well, now that we've been derailed enough from the beginning of this episode,
Take us away, C's.
let's get things back
There's
on
too
track.
many electronics in front of me for me to be drinking water right now.
Oh man! All right, so it's playoff season, baby. But before we get into the playoffs, we have to do a little backtracking and talk about some things that have happened. We're not going to talk about the last 2 weeks of football that we've missed necessarily, but we will talk about some of the fallout of these last 2 weeks, and that is coaches getting fired. So I just want to go through the list of all the coaches that are no longer employed, and now this means teams that are looking for brand new coaches. Now, we already had some coaches that got fired earlier in the season. I believe Dennis Allen, Robert Saleh. Am I missing somebody?
RIP.
There was what's the guy from Chicago? Your boy
Oh, Eberflus.
Eberflus, right?
He was-
So those guys
he
all
was
got
good
fired in
before,
season.
yeah.
Yeah. So as of right now, the Las Vegas Raiders have fired Antonio Pierce after one full season. Not surprising, but kind of a little disheartening for a guy who had the whole team stick up for him and fight for him to get the head coaching job. But hey, man, that Raiders organization is not a stable one, so it was only a matter of time before they did something rash.
Also,
as of right
everybody knew
now,
that they
he's
even
not fired.
Eagles knew that they were going to suck.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think expectations were low for the Raiders going into the season. I think the best that they could have hoped for was a second place finish. But
Gardner
alas,
Minshew.
they were
did the Gardner Minshew bit again.
Yeah,
And
also between him and
Aiden O'Connell.
a bit, yeah.
and then they had
Aiden
Desmond
O'Connell's
Ritter for a
solid
little
backup.
bit
Solid
there at the end, I guess. But yeah, so I'm just going down this list that's been written for me by Yahoo Sports. So we have the Las Vegas Raiders, Up next, now this is a coach that has neither been fired nor resigned, but his contract is up next Tuesday. It's Mike McCarthy. He's in this weird limbo. We'll get into that later, whenever that actually is officially, like, whether he gets re-signed or whatever. But the Cowboys did deny the Chicago Bears' request to interview Mike McCarthy, which Chicago, what the fuck are you thinking? But that's another topic for another day. Tennessee Titans, no, they have retained Brian Callahan, not Bill Callahan, that's his dad, but they have, as Becky mentioned off camera, I think, or just now actually, like I can't even tell when we start recording now. Ran Carthon is out as the general manager, so they're going to look for a new GM.
Carthon.
No, we're going to look at the last two coaches that were fired recently as of Monday. Whenever I made the rundown for this episode, Jacksonville Jaguars have fired Doug Peterson after
Super Bowl champion Doug Peterson.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
right,
Come
Super Bowl
on,
champion Doug
respect.
Peterson. Now
No
there
respect.
is so for the Doug Peterson like haters out there, and they're all out there. I've seen them. There's
They
not a lot
deserve
of
to
them.
be
There's
out there.
dozens of them, and they are loud. But one could argue that Doug Peterson, outside of that Super Bowl season, has been a pretty mediocre coach, at least in terms of his winning record. But
Eli
here's the
Manning
thing: there is
coaches.
not that many coaches that have won a Super Bowl, and so you can't discredit that from him. I
Great
think this is
football
a
career, all in all, really.
absolutely. And listen, I think he's done coaching. Like, I don't think he's going to get another shot at this. But here's the thing: what's more shocking and more
Like the
egregious
Bill
than any
Belichick route, bro. Have fun.
right?
And someone
Honestly,
else's money.
the guy's probably just going to write
job might
books,
be open
speak
in a
at
few
conferences.
weeks.
Like, the guy just strikes me as a guy who's just going to be doing a bunch of conferences as a guest speaker for the next decade or so. But this is what's most egregious and most shocking. Anybody who like pays attention to like the GM world of football knows one thing. And that's that Trent Baalke is a hack and an absolute piece of shit. And the fact that he gets to stay, despite being one of the worst drafters of the last decade, is just really laughable, and I shouldn't expect anything different from Shad Khan, the owner of the Jags.
Did you see the clip? Did you see the clip?
Which clip? There's a lot.
Yeah, the clip of, you know, this one. There was a clip. I believe it was recent. I'm pretty sure it's them talking about the open vacancy, and he's basically the question is framed as, Shad Khan, would you fire the GM, or would you move on from the GM if the coach felt like those changes were necessary? And he was like, yes. And they're both on a Skype like us right now. Like they're both basically just video chatting in this
Beautiful.
whatever forum.
You got the back half of what he said though?
What's the back half? Is
He
it give me
said
context?
if they would say that to with Baalke in the room with him.
Oh, so Shad said,
He said
I'm gonna
if-
say it
if
out
you
loud.
bring him in the
And
room
if
with
you
me, if we're all three in a room together and you say that to me, then maybe I will.
Oh, okay,
So,
that's
I want you
ballsy.
to I want you to tell this guy he needs to be fired in front of me, and then I might do it.
Yeah, Shad Khan might have
Pretty
more
funny.
Jerry Jones energy than we first thought.
It's entirely they don't want to win. They're just having fun. They like hanging out with Baalke.
It
I
might
guess,
work,
but-
it might. I mean,
No, it won't work. Like Trent Baalke's not good at his job, and he hasn't been good at his job since.
no, I mean just the roulette wheel of
2011.
obtaining talent. You know what I mean? Like they might just dumb luck on enough talent to make them all look mediocre for a little
I mean,
bit.
I mentioned this earlier. Once every 10 years, they get into a conference championship game. All right, 2027, chalk it down.
Oh well, you know that might be the peak of Trevor Lawrence's career. Now
For the
we'll
NFL
move on.
scripted people, that would be hilarious. That worked out again because I believe it was like 97, 07, and 17, maybe.
No, 07. Yeah, actually, I think 07 they went up against the Patriots. Not sure.
Damn.
I'm not entirely sure. However,
They figured it
speaking
out.
of the Patriots, they're the next on this list of firings. When they fired Gerard Mayo after a one and done season, and the wild part about this, right, is he was handpicked to succeed Bill Belichick. Like it was in his contract that he's the next guy in line. They wasted no time, and as soon as Bill Belichick just retired / didn't re-sign with the Patriots or whatever that whole situation was, Gerard Mayo came in there, and it looked like they had a plan, right? They went out, they got Drake May. So you pair the head coach with the QB. You have the GM in place already, so he knows everybody. It looks like they have a direction, and then Robert Kraft said, "Fuck that." This team was awful, which it was always going to be awful. They lacked talent the last year of Bill Belichick's season there, and they didn't really do that much about
Did
it.
they miss out on Vrabel? Is that what happened this year?
So, I mean, not this year. Like, Vrabel was under a bunch.
From years before that, whenever Belichick was gone, Mayo had already been
handpicked. Yeah, like that was the guy.
Written into a contract. It was as close as it could be. So I think he was always going to honor that.
Yeah, and like giving the guy one season just doesn't feel right to me. Just one season. I know they were bad, and I know he didn't do himself any favors. But
yeah, as I was saying, he oddly enough came out and said, "I didn't do him any favors, but I'm still firing it." Like that's just why did you even have to say that?
Because he wants Mike Vrabel, and he always probably did, and I guess that's why Vrabel didn't take a job last year. Or really,
and you know this team is moving dirty. I mean, they immediately go and interview two guys who haven't been in the league that meet the Rooney Rule requirement. And they're like, do we want Vrabel? If I'm Vrabel, I want nothing to do with the Patriots because they have so much lack of talent everywhere.
Yeah, if he wants a contract for a decade or so,
I don't even know if they'll give him a decade because I think we're about to realize how much of an unstable group the Patriots are with Robert Kraft at the head, without Bill Belichick wrestling that power away from him.
Maybe.
And we're about to find out. I have an odd feeling.
Jason Garrett type thing.
Yeah, I have an odd feeling that we're about to see some real dysfunction from the Patriots, like genuine dysfunction.
You think Vrabel's going to go be a puppet?
I think Vrabel goes to Chicago, but that's different.
I don't think Vrabel doesn't strike me as the Garrett puppet type. I don't think they could have that relationship.
Because it's a job where the owner will do whatever you want.
I think the Vrabel just gets the keys like Belichick, and he just assumes he'll be able to do what Belichick did, and he either will or won't.
And I don't think he will because I don't think he's that type of a coach.
The right GM to pair with him, maybe.
That's the problem, though. They retain the GM that they currently have. If you're going to fire, I'm very much, and I'm gonna, even though the Eagles don't do this, and sometimes I wish they have done it, and even though Howie's proven himself time and again, if you're gonna fire the coach, generally speaking, you should also fire the GM that hired the coach, so you can marry the two together and be like, "This is your plan." Like, I need one uniformed vision on how this team should be ran, and the Patriots aren't going to do that. I don't think, at least.
Yeah, it looks that way.
So there's that, and then of course, guys, we still have plenty of different openings in the season to look forward to here in the offseason. What the Jets do, what the Bears do, Saints, Jags. Honestly, I look through all these teams, and depending on what happens with the Dallas Cowboys, right? If they keep McCarthy, then the most attractive job on the market is maybe the Bears, but not really. Because I look at this, I'm like,
I don't think we have to read into the tea leaves. I like that Micah Parsons is still trying to sell the dream right out the gate, but let's be honest, like, if we're gonna all still stick to the story of Jerry doing Jerry, then like it's either McCarthy or a cheap-ish option that he can pass. He just doesn't. He's clearly not putting money into the resources like he thinks he is or says he is, and it's obvious.
Yeah.
There's data. It's not hard to prove.
I heard an interesting take on this. I think it was kind of based off his Landman appearance and the way he was talking about it. Just kind of maybe a different perspective on he's less concerned with winning and more concerned with just building something stable for whenever he does die, that his kids aren't like stuck with, Cliff Kingsbury and a 1-16 team.
Well, that's what fucking life is, dude. What the fuck? That just doesn't. I hear that, and I understand where someone like him could get lost in the sentiment because he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing a lot.
Well, because he's just he's more interested in the family aspect than the football team.
And I'm okay with that, but I still think that logic is entirely flawed. Like I just don't understand where. So who's supposed to lead them through who is it? McCarthy? Is it Will McClay? Because even Will McClay is like working on like year-to-year deals with this guy. Like he doesn't spend money on. I don't understand how
he
when you're
regularly
setting up for the
hamstrings his front
future-
office.
Like, I
That's for
don't.
sure.
Well,
I
you're making
hear
the
it,
mistake
but
most sports fans do, which is assuming that the team itself is the actual product.
yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but like the product is set up so well at this point. I don't know how much more you could really even spread it out. The only thing that could really magnify it at this point is to actually reclaim a dynasty-like program,
I'm
right?
with you on that. I'm with you on
Like,
that. I don't.
No.
I just don't. Yeah.
like
I don't think
that's the only
helps.
revitalization you can get is go back to the 90s. It's
He
in
doesn't want
pop
the risk.
culture. It's everything was Cowboys for a decade, you know. That is what a lot of sports teams go to achieve. That is the Jerry goal more than anything. And it's like if you
Well,
want that,
I think he might believe that because he built the salary cap that's impossible now.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that he probably does because he doesn't
Because
show that
the
he knows what
country
he's
didn't-
talking
the country didn't
about.
all turn into Patriots fans. They're not all Chiefs fans now.
No,
So-
no, and that stuff is always like the Cowboys were really not that before the 90s. You know, they were a part
No,
of
and they built
America's
the-
history,
they built
but
the
the
brand
90s
in
was
the
different.
60s and 70s, but
Yeah, but the culture stuff is like the Patriots is always going to be associated with the 2000s. Like that is what you fight for to achieve is to be synonymous with your sport for a whole decade, you know?
Yeah.
And so like you attain that once and that's awesome. You got you all the rest of this stuff. Now you're passing it on in all this way. But I just don't understand how continuously just doing the bare minimum financially seemingly everywhere you can get away with it, which is what he does. He's not sly. It's everywhere you can get away with it that he does it.
But he tells you he's spending money to your
But
face.
yeah, no, he gaslights the
Right to
shit
your
out of you because
face.
he's not from a generation that did mental health well at all. They never talk about things in therapy. He doesn't understand
For
these
somebody who
terms.
grew up eating squirrels, I think he's pretty well adjusted.
Honestly, it could have been worse, but yeah, I mean, I so I laugh at that, but yeah. Long story short, Cowboys coaching search sounds great, but they're not going to bid for Ben Johnson.
It's
Yeah, no, not at all.
I don't
But,
think
like-
there's really much question that it's Mike McCarthy. But
I do think Mike's back. Yeah, and honestly, I think the real question is does Mike McCarthy actually accept a 1-year bullshit deal, or do they at least give him 3 years, 2 years?
Yeah,
Like
that's
what
fair. I mean,
what
you
does this
probably
even
find
look
him.
like?
We'll see. I mean, we'll find out with that. But
Yeah,
what I
next
wanted to
week
get
is
at
what-
with that is if the Cowboys job is available, right? I'm not saying this is
people will want to
this is irregardless of Jerry. Just you look at the roster and you look at the resources on hand, and not who is handling those resources. You think, all right, that might be a better situation than these other dumpster fire franchises that have their current openings available.
Caleb Williams, you're right. Caleb Williams is the only other thing that you might be like, maybe I could do something here.
Yeah, I do feel bad for McCarthy because, like, I know you kind of laughed at it, but I think McCarthy would be a solid coach in a program like Chicago. I think he's done well.
He'd be a good.
So
I would,
and he's really
that's
he's
what
a
I would
bare
say.
minimum guy. He kind of can help rebuild the culture from the ground up, and then maybe they find a better guy once they're built.
Yeah, because that's the only way I could see that working is if he is the guy before the actual guy.
and
He
or-
sets everything in place
or he
for
gets
somebody else to
lucky
take off
and
because
Williams does what Rodgers
Yeah.
did, and just goes off 1 year. You know.
yeah,
I mean,
maybe. But here's the thing. This is why I say this is because, and Becky, you've heard me talk about it. You've mentioned it before. I'm sure everybody else in the DFW talked about it. Mike McCarthy, just as an X's and O's guy, gets stale really quick. Like his system gets old real quick. It's outdated for the modern game, and when you have a young quarterback, you kind of want to be kept up with the times. But maybe Caleb Williams, being the generational talent that he's being touted to be, can circumvent that in the way that Aaron Rodgers did for a little bit under Mike McCarthy during their heyday together. But I
mean,
I
Dak
personally
had
don't know.
his arguably
Mike's-
best year under
yeah,
Mike, right?
I think
Like,
Mike's
finished,
issue
what,
is
second in MVP voting 1 year, didn't he?
I think that was wasn't that one of the Kellen and Mike McCarthy years?
And then that's the other funny angle is that Kellen and Dan Quinn are both in the playoffs right now, and
Yeah, but I mean that's the worst case scenario if you're a Cowboys fan is Kellen Moore, because what did Kellen Moore do this season?
He
He
could definitely
handed
be
the
the next
ball
Jason
to
Garrett.
Saquon Barkley. What are we gonna do? Give him Rico Dowdle and like some 6th-round pick, and then be like, do it. Yeah, if we get if they actually you know what I mean. But even still, Kellen Moore did not do enough to put himself in a head coaching conversation this year, in my opinion.
But could he
So-
argue,
No, you're true.
could he
That's true.
argue that Mike McCarthy was in his way?
No, and that's fine. I don't care. Mike McCarthy I think one thing about McCarthy that people need to give more credit for. He said the first day he got the job, when they did the interview, he was like, it's about building deep teams, and that is one thing I will give him. Now, it's not always perfect. When they whiffed on positions, he didn't have resources to really make it deep enough. But this guy really did a great job this season of piecing together a broke-ass team for a lot of reasons. Not just the cheap dude, but a broke-ass team. And he's done that a lot, and I do think that he deserves credit for that because I think he understands the value of it. Maybe that's a little overrated in the terms of winning a Super Bowl, but I do feel like because Green Bay is also not a resource-heavy franchise either. They're glamorous, but they're not spending money.
No,
So
that's a team that believes in drafting, and
if you want to spend, I do think maybe McCarthy could be a great coach for an owner that spends, because I think his philosophy of filling out roster is actually pretty tried and true. Whether the other stuff, maybe you want him to have a coordinator, you stipulate that. I could see and understand why that would be there, because really he just needs to touch his game up a little bit. And he does it a little bit more now, and it's gotten better.
That football barn,
But yeah, he just needs to bring, like, you're right. He needs, honestly, if Mike McDaniel gets fired, like, that needs to be his best buddy, and he just needs to learn like 2 or 3 things about pre-motion snaps. And I think McCarthy's offense magically just goes through the roof.
What do you mean? He spent a whole year at Pro Football Focus to learn about it.
Yeah, no, I don't think PFF grades were helping him with the pre-snap. I think that was where the data was failing him.
Probably. But yeah, as far as all the coaching vacancies, that's all there is for now. You never know. One of these rash billionaire owners might get embarrassed during a playoff and preemptively fire one of their coaches.
I was told the Vikings might trade their coach. So
yeah, dude. We have to address one of the funnier rumors. Mike Tomlin also going to be in trade rumors if we're talking about coaches and trade rumors. So
honestly, that is a guy that I think Pittsburgh should move off of, and he should also want to move off of Pittsburgh just because it's the same collapse that they have year in and year out.
It's the perfect married couple that don't love each other, but they're just sticking through it because it's like kind of working. So
it kind of works, but you know that it's not going to get any better.
I got one. Nick Sirianni traded to the Jets.
I hope they would send us something good in return.
No,
listen.
You don't get anything
because
back.
Here's the thing. As much as I don't believe in Nick Sirianni's overall X's and O's like acumen, he's clearly done something for the players to believe in him. That's not nothing
under fucking control.
And like people are like, oh, he's winning games. Like clearly with a talented roster, he can win games. I don't know what he can do with an untalented roster. That remains to be seen. Because he's been handed a pretty good fucking roster for the last 3 years. So, well, I don't know. We'll see what happens with Green Bay in that game against Green Bay. But anyway, I would expect that if somebody wants to trade for him, 1, what are you thinking? And 2, please, just give us.
It's a weird group because you look around and these are all established coaches for the most part in the playoff field.
It was because they didn't think Week 18 was going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I mean.
Threw some crap.
They were wrong. There was some excitement in Week 18, even in some of these games that had no. Yeah, like that meant nothing.
Football, honestly.
Yeah. But anyway, let's
one game.
Yeah, right. Well, hey, for some of us, it maybe it worked out. Not for all of us, but hey, let's go. Let's take a break from the football game talk, and let's talk about how we did in talking about our football picks.
Picks.
Listen,
some of this is going to be subject.
I'm going to need a recount.
This will all be subject to audit for sure.
There has to be an audit of some sort.
But as it currently stands, Caesar had a really rough week. One of the roughest weeks of the year for any of us. He went 7-9.
With a 2-game lead. I had a 2-game lead.
And because he missed the last 5 games, he ended up falling down to second place at the moment.
By 1 game.
78 and 94. Bethke finished in third place at 164 correct and 108 wrong. A nice 603 correct percentage. I don't think that's anything to scoff at.
He had one of the best weeks any of us ever had the second to last week of the season, too.
Yeah, he did. He went 14-2 last week.
He crushed Jesus.
And yeah, we'll get to that in a second, too. For people who really don't do just a ton of football research, I think we all did fine this year. And then right now, it looks like I might have won at 179 and 93.
One game.
See.
That's crushing me.
I will absolutely have to go back and audit it. But speaking of our friend Jesus, who said we were bad at picks, in the 2 weeks that we've been tracking he finished 3 games under. Sorry, he finished 1 game behind me and Bethke. Caesar finished 3 games behind me and Bethke.
Listen, man. How am I supposed to know that Kansas City is just gonna mail it in that hard?
Hey, I missed that one too.
Yeah, and then the Rams fucked up against. They lost a meaningless
game. None of those would have changed anything. You lost it because we all picked the same. So you lost it when the 49ers got boat raced by the Cardinals.
Oh yeah, that's what actually got me, because what the fuck was that? Go fuck yourself, San Francisco.
Or Indianapolis.
Okay, but Dallas had the lead and then they blew it, so they did that despite me.
That was a crazy game.
Yeah,
I would say by week 7,
Cowboys.
I would say by week 6. Week 6, I really turned it on and put on a performance that's very commendable. Everything before that, complete garbage. Oh, week 18 was awful too. I squeaked through the last week of the season.
Oh, and then Green Bay somehow loses.
But we
Chicago.
All 4 of us picked Green Bay.
I know, but I'm looking at some of these games that
that was
shouldn't have gotten wrong
too. I didn't even see it because it was at the same time as the Washington Cowboy game.
Yeah. I mean, I was just kind of keeping track on the box score on the ESPN, so I didn't get to see how that game ended. I just know that score pisses me off. How dare you, Green Bay?
The Bears had 40 seconds when they got the ball back and got down there and made a field goal.
That was crazy. I thought that was a shoe-in for sure.
Did you know though? I'm going to touch on this a little bit later, but Green Bay is 1 blocked field goal away from being winless in the division.
I did know.
That's how it should be.
Don't worry. We all know it. Every one of us knows it. In the division. We all hate them.
Yeah, I honestly just did not pay attention at all to how the playoff seeding stuff went. So there was a couple of games where I just was an asshole for picking how I hit.
And it's, for a year where the NFC North was touted, obviously in the back half of the year is the best division in football there for the records. That's where Green Bay lost out, is they didn't win any division games.
No.
We tried to hand 2 of them to them in the second half, but they didn't take them.
They just refused. All right. Well, now we see how we did with our regular season picks.
I will say, in week 17, I was the only one of the 4 of us who got Minnesota beating Green Bay.
Yeah, but how am I supposed to know that was going to work out that way? So that's when I found out that Green Bay is fraudulent.
Is Jordan Love hurt? Did I miss that?
He is hurt. He did hurt his elbow, I believe. But I'm not seeing him as potentially missing the game against Philadelphia. So,
Peckerheads invading Philly.
It's
4th and 26 on the minds of all the Packer fans.
It's Philadelphia cream cheese versus the Cheeseheads. That's what's happening. But yeah, listen. Once we get the rest of this postseason out of the way and all the regular season individual awards are handed out, we'll go into who got those correct. I believe, if I'm looking at this right,
it's really not that hard.
I nailed
There's only 3 of them that are still in play.
Yeah, I've got, based on the betting odds, that's what I was saying in our chat. Unless something wild happens, you got 2 of them locked up with TJ Watt as Defensive Player of the Year and Joe Burrow as Comeback Player of the Year.
Nice. And I was the closest to predicting my team's record correctly.
Yeah, if you needed them to lose, and you would have gotten some bonus points if they had lost last week.
Thank God I fading the New York Giants does not fail me this year. Except
And then I got Barkley in as Offensive Player of the Year, and that'll probably lock in.
Oh, that's a lock.
We
Absolutely.
both got bonuses. Me and you did for predicting one division entirely correct from top to bottom each. I can't remember which one's which right now.
I'm looking at it. I don't see which division we got top to bottom.
One second,
Oh,
let's
top
just-
to bottom. Okay, I have that somewhere completely else on my computer somewhere.
Yeah, I just ran through it whenever I put those numbers up. So you're likely going to win out on all that just because of the awards are weighted so heavily. So
Hell yeah.
Bethke's attempt at putting all Cowboys in at the award winners did not pay off this year.
Not even one.
Well, how will they do next
I
year?
think your MVP went what, five weeks.
5 weeks there. CeeDee Lamb, respectable. Parsons might have if he got the whole year. Guyton, Nealon.
No shot.
Mike McCarthy, honestly.
Discussion, but
Mike
that's not how they do
McCarthy,
this.
and then DeMarvin Overshawn. There was, I think he may
we'll
have.
have another chance. We'll have another chance
God
next
damn
year,
it.
hopefully. I will say your McCarthy pick probably better than our Raheem Morris picks that we both went with. So
Oh yeah, that's 100% the truth right there.
maybe we don't go with the Fight Club winner next year.
Well, listen, we were riding off a high, okay?
Yeah, I did bad on the. I really I don't.
Yeah.
Why is there a asterisk on my Atlanta division? Oh,
so I didn't
that's
know
right.
what order you said 1 through
The
4
order.
in, and if Tampa Bay had won and Atlanta got second, you would have. We would have. I would have had to go back and listen again to see if you get those bonus points. So
Yo,
luckily I don't
is
have
the
to do
division that
that.
we predicted correctly the AFC East, like from top to bottom? Yeah, right. It was Buffalo, Miami, Jets, and then the Pats.
Yeah, but I think you got a different one. I think you got the South the same, right?
Oh yeah, because yeah.
I don't know why I
just-
sold myself on the
Bonus
Jags.
points.
I don't know why I sold myself on the Jags at all. The Jets, honestly, yeah. I mean, I that was a bit all year, and then the Browns, yeah, that was just I couldn't figure it out, and then I was like, either this is going to be
Of
the
all the
biggest
teams in that
boom or the
division.
biggest bust.
Absolute bust.
I went back and found my notes, and that's literally what it said: is this is either a boom or a big bust.
Yeah, we didn't do particularly
Bust.
well on this part. I don't think. I don't really have anything to put that up against, but
Yeah, and then we look at the other
we
divisions,
all
and
thought
that
Atlanta
wasn't
was
so
going to
good.
win. Me and Caesar both thought Green Bay and San Francisco were going to win.
Atlanta, all three with
No,
Atlanta.
I felt it in my bones that the Rams were gonna. I just knew that somehow the Rams had figured it out. It was something about the universe that spikes Jerry Jones and the Jones family that it powers the Rams to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, 100%.
And really, where you missed out on extra points is thinking the 49ers were going to get second place, where we had them in first instead of what they finished third or fourth.
Yeah,
I think they finished
I
third.
should have full faded.
They had a tough one.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how we do these titles, but once I fully audit every week, we'll see if Caesar actually did lose by one or not.
And then, well, once we get all the individual awards, we will declare the winner of this year's Who Knows Ball competition, and then one of you will be
That's-
mailed the
that's the
trophy.
question,
And
is
by
if
you,
there
I
are-
mean probably
if there are two
he's gonna get
belts,
mailed it.
if there are 2 belts or 1 belt. So
But he's gonna get mailed
where does it
the
change?
award for
Put it on
not
my chain.
not knowing ball.
yeah, Becky, I don't know what you get.
It's like the trophy of football
They
dishonor.
make you drive around with truck nuts on whatever vehicle you have for a year.
As long as they're Dallas Cowboy truck nuts.
Make that happen.
I
might
think that's
actually-
workable.
Maybe I'll do a house divided where one's an eagle and one's a Viking.
Oh, that would be amazing. No, I would. Yeah, I would pay for that one. I'd pay to get that made so you can love that on this card.
But all that to say, Jesus, you called us out and we beat you. So
Yeah.
In a 2-week span, but we beat you.
Boom. All right,
Yeah,
so
we'll
let's
fight-
double or nothing, and let's put on
in
the
the
playoffs.
playoffs?
sometime.
We could do that.
I think the idea for playoffs might just be a simple like
Bracket?
bracket style.
Yeah, I'm down for that one.
Yeah, that'll be
Now-
enough.
Move it. Oh yeah, and we'll talk more about that
Right.
later.
I just
But
have to do
now,
that by Saturday.
gentlemen, before we go talk about the playoffs, and I did kind of mess up my own order here on the rundown, but it's time we do just a little bit of a regular season reflection now that the time is done, right? Regular season's over, with the playoffs about to be started. Bethke, you've already told us, and I think this would be a good time to tell our audience that you are actually going to do a little video series kind of detailing the Cowboy season. Is that right?
The days of our lives is how I will call it. I wanted to make one video for this, but the one thing that's incredible at the Cowboys is Jerry Jones delivers on always being a part of the news, right? There's really not a part of the season, from the off season to training camp, throughout the entire weeks, probably even the bye week. I don't have anything on record for the bye week, but I know Jerry did something during the bye week to get attention. And if I find it, I'll add it. But yeah, I am going to go through and I'm going to make a little Days of Our Lives memorandum video for the 2024 Dallas Cowboys, as they were an injured, disgruntled, underdeveloped, underperformed, over exaggerated, just depressing. I think I bailed on this team after Baltimore. I was pretty confident that what I was seeing was a football team not well put together, regardless of what the future came. And honestly, a pretty respectable team at the end of it, all in all. But there was just never a world where that team was about to turn it into the run. So that was nice. At least there wasn't like a fake hope this year. Last year really was a very hurtful thing. And so at least I don't have to experience that this year. This year it was just comedy, just jokes. It's another year without a championship. So that joke continues. But unfortunately, that joke just is just nothing anymore. So now it's really not that big a deal. It's like I don't have to like spend my whole season being like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Wait, what's the first game of the playoffs? Green Bay, and it's at 3:30 at our house. So I have to deal with the sun. You know what I mean? Like we just always have they always get the fucking the bullshit slate for the South. Well, we always get the fucking 3:30 game because Roger Goodell's like, dumbass won't put the curtains. Watch dumbass won't put the curtains. Watch dumbass won't put the curtains.
Well, both teams have to deal with the sunlight, Bethke. That's just how we do it here in Dallas Cowboys football. Yeah.
Now, every time I see any other stadium with sunlight in it, I just get triggered. But yeah, so karma's real, but that's another story. So enjoy that on YouTube in micro bits for you to remember a shitty season by.
Absolutely. And then Patrick, anything that you wanted to talk about, kind of seeing where you had your expectations for your team earlier in the year, where you were like, mediocre, 9-8, kind of average football team at best.
Yeah, and I was
almost having the 1 seed.
I was gonna say I was more optimistic than pretty much anyone else was about that. If you look over the national, discourse on what the Vikings were going to be this year, which is fair given the track record of Sam Darnold, and the thought that we might have been playing JJ McCarthy at some point if he had not been hurt before the season started. So all in all, successful regular season. I wish it would have ended a little bit better, but I'll go with might as well get another loss in right now so that you don't get any more on the way out. So it's been fun. I mean, Darnold obviously has been a surprise to everybody. He's always had the arm strength, but he's looked a lot smarter. And then we've seen, a couple moments where he still looks like not necessarily the same old Darnold, but not quite,
You see the glimpses. You
not
see
quite
the glimpses.
an all-pro. But I think he's earned himself a good contract, whether it's with us or with someone else, and that's kind of fun. KOC seems to be a QB whisperer for sure. So
yeah, he that's going to be one of the most interesting topics in the offseason is what does Sam Darnold do and what the Vikings do with him.
yeah, absolutely.
Go back to the Jets.
a tough call for everyone involved, really. I wouldn't mind seeing him back, depending on the number and the term, because we don't know enough about JJ. Don't think it hurts to have JJ sit a whole other year. I hate that franchise tags exist, but since they do, you might as well use them. That could be a thing.
Yeah,
It
it's a lot of money to pay for a dude, but it's just a year.
But as far as this year goes, everything is cool. Pretty excited about the playoffs. It would have been nice to have a bye. It's really tough when your team goes 14-3 and has to go on the road to play a playoff game. But then that's the rules, and them's the breaks, and you go out there.
It's a decent place to go.
To steal, maybe they beat us earlier. They're one of our 3 losses this year.
I mean, but it's still, you're going in SoFi. That's not the scariest place in the world.
Well, maybe. Is there?
Oh, fuck yeah, that's true. Well,
it might be Glendale, and then it's just a neutral stadium game.
Who knows? Who knows what the plan is? We'll find out in the next few days, I'm sure.
What time is the game? It's
Monday night. So.
It's the Monday night.
Honestly, I think it'll be fine. I think because Inglewood's pretty far south, and like, I'll look at the map again, but I think
Our map did not look promising when I looked at it this morning. But
yeah, but the like Inglewood's very far into the like. There's a lot of concrete between now and there. A lot of this is all taking part where actual like the hills and stuff are up.
Yeah. As far as the actual season went, I'm pretty pumped that it went that way.
Yeah.
Good chance for Questley to show some more genius in the draft hopefully this year, and keep things moving. So it was a fun season. I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. All right. Well then, I guess we'll go over to my team. Coming into the season, I did have high expectations based on my prediction of the schedule. Right, had them going 13-4. They go 14-3. I was expecting a little bit of a better showing, I guess, from the passing game on the offense. Little did I know that Saquon Barkley thought he would have a good season. Didn't think that he would be 101 yards short of surpassing Eric Dickerson's record. Probably could have gotten it if the Eagles really wanted to give it to him. But they went with the safe route and just decided, hey, you know what? You're part of the 2000 club. I'm going to always disagree with that decision, especially if it doesn't end in a Super Bowl season. But hindsight will always be, 2020 in that case, when arguments about what they should have done come to pass over the next couple of years, depending on how the season ends. But, I'm thinking, all right, Jalen Hurts, he's going to have, some extra responsibilities with the loss of Jason Kelce to retirement. Cam Jurgens comes in, picks up right where he left off, right where Jason Kelce left off. You don't hear any complaints about the center position. Mekhi Becton is a revelation at guard after flaming out as a tackle with the Jets. And then the biggest concern I had all year, the defense. I thought the defense was really bad last year. We had no defensive coordinator. You lose you trade away your best defensive pass rusher, or your best defensive player who's your pass rusher in Hassan Reddick. And you don't have a proven guy. You're really thin at the position. You're relying on some unproven talent and Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham. Like those, you got those two guys, and then a bunch of other guys. Yeah, you're not really sure. And you hope that Jalen Carter makes the leap into that Aaron Donald stratosphere of elite pass rushing D tackles. Didn't quite do that, but he was a game wrecker in his own way. Vic Fangio comes in. He saves the day. He takes one of the worst defenses in the league last year to one of the best. And it just leads to a part in the season after a really weird first 4 games, an early bye. And the Eagles win 12 of the next 13 games. They look like one of the best teams in the league. You still have questions about that passing game. You come in here. I know Bethke was, in with his own doubts over Kellen Moore and how his offensive philosophies would be applied in Philadelphia. Well, we still don't really know because, they handed the ball off to Saquon Barkley a lot. But when you have one of the best run,
there is an identity, at least.
Yeah, there is an identity. We're going to run the ball, and you're not going to stop it, no matter how hard you try. And then if you do stop it, you still have to stop A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So there is that. the passing game remains a mystery even this late into the season. So I think that's one thing that there was questions about at the beginning of the season, still weren't answered here at the end of the season. All in all, great year. Might be one of the best years, if not, like if this ends in a Super Bowl, I will just go ahead and stamp this as the best Eagles team ever assembled, top to bottom. And that's not just talent; that's coaching too. But we'll see what happens. As far as regular season, this is great. I could not have asked for a better season. Probably could have asked for them to catch the fucking ball against the Washington Commanders. That would have been nice. Devonta Smith. That would have been fucking nice. Or against the Falcons. That would have been great. We could have gotten the 1 seed. Or at least been in position for the 1 seed. But other than that, yeah, it was all good. So that's our reflection on our teams this past season. But now we're going to move on to the fucking postseason, baby. It's time. The wild card round is here. So we're going to go. I know I have it here as AFC, NFC. We're just going to go by Saturday, Sunday to make it easier because we can just look that up quite easily. The first game that we have to kick things off, we've already mentioned the Houston Texans in what feels like their annual Saturday 3:30 Central Time spot up against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now this game, I look at the teams. This might feel like the most evenly matched matchup in the wild card round. I think across all of the matchups in the first round, just because I don't think either of these teams' ceilings are very high when it comes to making a deep playoff run, and they're both deeply flawed in their own ways. The Texans' offense has been a sputtering mess. Their offensive coordinator came into this season, and he was like, hey, man, this Bobby Slowick might be the name to look out for future head coaching and opportunities. And this season, he just kind of shit all over himself. Now, he did have to work through a lot of wide receiver injuries with Tank Dell, Nico Collins, but the run game was a mess. And it just felt like C.J. Stroud took a step back because the rest of the team around him also took a step back with him. That defense has been really good, and you can say something very similar on the Chargers' end. That offense, maybe not a sputtering mess. It's kind of just boring. It's really plain. They don't have a very imaginative offensive coordinator, but they do have John Harbaugh, who just knows how to get the most out of his team, and I think that he's been doing that. I think for years we've talked about the Chargers being a very talented team, and I think the last few years have shown that they've been riding more on name value at certain positions, and they haven't seen a whole ton of production from that because the talent's been waned off. We just never really notice it until the Chargers do something that reminds us, oh, hey, this is the Chargers team. They're, perennial chokers. This season feels a little different, though, in that regard. All that to say, I think that we're going to have the Chargers win at Houston. Something about this Houston team just doesn't sit right with me in terms of how they finished the season, how that roster is constructed, with and how it matches the coaching staff that they have. Bobby Slowick being the Achilles heel, I think, right now of that team. But, gentlemen, this is more than just me talking. This is you guys also kind of giving your opinions on how you think this game is going to go. So, kind of as a preview of our own playoff brackets, where do you think this game goes?
We gotta, I mean, Patrick, what do you got first? Hold on, I'm looking something up.
You're good.
No, I'm looking something up. Buy me time.
Now you're putting me on the spot because I was busy trying to make our bracket.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is a stupid game. That's why they made it the first game. I think the Chargers are going to win.
Yeah, I think the Chargers are going to win. I think the difference is going to be,
neither of these teams is consistent enough for me to trust them. So
that's very true.
The Chargers are going to win, and it's going to come down to just really needing to be able to muscle it up, get the ball in the end zone when it matters the most. And I think the Chargers have a secret weapon they're fixing to unleash upon the world.
Is it Cameron Dicker?
No, it's Ezekiel Elliott.
Jesus Christ. It always comes back to a Dallas Cowboy.
So I think the Houston Texans are in trouble, and they should fear for their lives.
They do lose this game a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they are a
But
they
they
are
also
the ones
do
done
like to win it and then get their shit kicked in by the Chiefs too. That's a favorite thing to do.
that could happen. That could happen to both teams, honestly.
Oh no, it will.
Bye week makes his bracket tough to build out in a graph.
Yeah, I would definitely say that I'm going Los Angeles Chargers of Chargerheim.
Of Chargerheim. All right. There we go. All right. We're moving on to the next game on the Saturday slot, and that is Steelers at Ravens. This is the third time in a row. Oh, this is the third matchup for them. Rather, this season it's going to be on Prime, which is gross to put a playoff game on a streaming service, but whatever. Listen, the Steelers have been doing what the Steelers have been doing for the last couple of years. They start strong early in the season, and then they start to wane. Right? For whatever reason, usually it's been quarterback play. It's been injuries. This year, I just think I think Mike Tomlin's losing his touch with this team. He gets them ready to go early in the year, and then whatever buttons that he presses, they're not working the same way late into the season. Now you look at that team, and yeah, it's a flawed cast of characters on the offensive side of the ball. You know, you got a pretty not efficient. You got a pretty decent season out of Russell Wilson. I'm never going to say he's an efficient passer in the sense that this is a guy who lives off the deep ball, right? He lives off the outside of the numbers, doesn't usually go for checkdowns or middle of the field stuff. But let's look at this. Let's look at it this way. George Pickens is their number one threat on offense. After that, it's a steep fall off to Pat Freiermuth, Calvin Austin, Jaylen Warren, Najee Harris. Like, these are not guys that are going to strike fear into anybody unless you're afraid of fighting, in which case George Pickens would probably strike fear because the man loves to throw hands every once in a while. Now you look at how the season started, right? They go 4-2 with Justin Fields. Some say he shouldn't have been benched because he didn't do anything to get benched necessarily. But Russell Wilson kind of relieves all doubt in the sense that he comes in and he looks good early in the year. But as the year progresses, he just kind of looks a little bit like a slightly above average to average. You know, only 16 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. So, but got sacked quite a bit. I mean, the Steelers gave up 49 sacks on the year. A lot of that has to do with their quarterback's play style. You know who doesn't get sacked a whole ton, though? The QB on the opposite side of the field, and that's going to be Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, it feels like he finally exercised his demons over the Pittsburgh Steelers in their last matchup, and he's been playing lights out all year. If it wasn't for a shaky defense, I don't think there would be much of a conversation for MVP. I think it would be him, and then Josh Allen would be a distant second place because he's just been so much better than any other season. Like, this is the best season of Lamar Jackson, and the best season of Lamar Jackson doesn't earn him an MVP, but the other two seasons do. We need to start talking about, I don't know, some sort of form or fashion that we can fix the MVP votes. I don't know. Listen, either way, this Baltimore offense has been electric. If I told you that the Baltimore Ravens had a top-of-the-league offense, like, you don't associate that with this team. You think of ground and pound and just doing enough to get by on the passing game, just historically speaking, right? Lamar Jackson changed the narrative this year. 4,000 yards passing, 41 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions, right? On top of that, he almost ran for 1,000 yards, put up 4 touchdowns on the ground, and then Derrick Henry, 1,900 yards, 16 touchdowns. This man is on the wrong side of 30 for a running back. That's had a lot of mileage put on him. And look at him. He's defying Father Time right now. The Achilles heel of the Baltimore Ravens, though, has been an inconsistent defense, right? They lose Mike McDonald, and what happens? former UNT great Zach Orr comes in there. It's his first year ever coordinating. They've lost some pieces on the defensive side from the year before, and he's just working with a ragtag group. And there's growing pains on both sides.
Future Dallas Cowboy coach Zach Orr.
Maybe. No, Roquan Smith led the team with 154 total tackles. Marlon Humphrey, 6 interceptions. They have playmakers. The problem is the rest of the team needs to kind of step up. I mean, Kyle Hamilton, he had moments this year where he looked like a liability, and then there's other moments where he looked like every bit of an all-pro, Pro Bowl talent that he was hyped up coming out of college, right? So all this to say that I think going into this game, Baltimore handles business. I don't think you're going to see too much variance in the defense, at least in this round from Baltimore. I think they keep that Pittsburgh Steelers team in check. Now, this is still a rivalry game, and I still believe that there's going to be points in the game where it feels like the game is closer than it actually is. Baltimore runs away in this one, though. So that's my prediction. Gentlemen, I hope I've bought you some more time with my rambles. How do we think this game goes?
I think Henry's pretty much got this thing. I don't think anything's going to slow him down in Pittsburgh, with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, dude, I'm tired of getting fucking egg on my face every time I think the Pittsburgh defense is good enough. They're just not. And then the offense is definitely mid. So it's like if they don't have that elite level defense, just get out of here. Expanded playoff. That's the only reason you're here. Go away.
I mean, they are the 6th. They would have gotten
I
in
don't
here
care.
regardless.
I don't care.
The
They could
Broncos
be the 1 seed. They could be the 1 seed, and I'd still feel the same.
Yeah, I think there are.
It's still the expanded playoffs.
I think I would actually still be way more concerned having to play Cincinnati than Pittsburgh right now.
Oh, definitely. Well, I would be more concerned facing that Cincinnati Bengals offense. That defense is theirs is the reason they're not in the playoffs more than anything.
For sure, but yeah, I just don't want to get in a game. I don't want to have to get in a boat race with them.
But if you are going to get in a boat race with them, and it's the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson, like I would feel okay. I wouldn't feel great because, of course, that Bengals offense is very talented, but so is that Ravens offense as well. But all right, so it looks like we all have Chargers and Ravens. All right, off to the Monday slate. The first game to kick things off on Monday at the noon slot is going to be the Broncos at Bills. This one, gentlemen, I don't think it's
Monday.
No, on a Sunday. Sorry, noon on a Sunday.
I was like, what the
Noon
fuck?
on a Sunday.
Yeah, noon on a Sunday. The 12 p.m. Central Time game. The Denver Broncos going to the Buffalo Bills. I don't think this one is remotely close. And I have all the proof I need based upon the fact that the Broncos, outside of that meaningless game in Week 18, it was meaningless for the Chiefs, right? They have performed terribly against teams with winning records all season long. The Bills are the 2 seed. No, that means they had a great winning record. Okay. And I just look at it, and yes, the Broncos have a great defense. They have talent all over the place. They're not going to slow down Josh Allen. Josh Allen could at any moment go hyper nuclear on offense, and he is a one-man wrecking crew. I don't think this Bills team is anything special. Just in regards to previous Bills teams, I think they're not as talented as some of the predecessors in the playoffs prior, right? But that said, I think they have more than enough talent to beat this Denver Broncos team and advance further. I think this Broncos team is one of those teams that are ahead of schedule. They got more out of Bo Nix than I anticipated. But there's still a lot of work to be done on the offensive side of the ball for the Broncos, just in terms of skill pieces to surround Bo Nix with if they ever hope to have a deep playoff run with him. So, yeah, give me the Bills in this game. Bethke, what do you got?
You don't believe in Bo Nix? I can't believe it.
You can't believe it? No. It's all right. Yeah.
No, this is like this is the game I want to watch the least. So wait,
Less
is
than
it gonna
Chargers?
snow? Is it gonna be snow? Because I'm in then.
I mean, it's in Buffalo, so
in
Okay.
January. So there's a
If
high
it's gonna
probability.
snow, and if it's gonna snow, I'm in. If it's not snowing, I'm not watching the game.
Okay, you know what? While you
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about
I was
that,
about to
let me
say, I was
look
about
up
to say
Buffalo's
that.
weather.
It's that simple.
What day is
I
it?
won't-
Sunday.
Sunday, yep.
Cold weather expected, which doesn't bode well for your. It's only 8% precipitation, 32 degrees,
So freezing cold weather, but no
barely
snow.
freezing though, not even
Yeah,
really freezing.
that's not good. That doesn't count for Buffalo. That's a hot day in Buffalo.
Nobody gives a damn about a 40-degree day.
Nope.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
don't think that's much of a contest.
All right. Oh, you know what's crazy? Well, no, I do see precipitation on
9%.
Saturday.
Yeah, Bo Nick's peeing himself.
So
Monday.
and
So I
Monday,
guess yeah, it could change.
there might be
pretty
snow
quickly.
on the field.
And it
or
could
in the
change rather
stands.
quickly. I would say we're too many days out to be sure about these percentages. I'm confident.
Right.
Good
All right.
chance.
Well, yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and Patrick, I'm assuming you're also taking the Bills here, unless
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now comes I believe the three most interesting games remaining in the playoffs. Starting with the 3:30 Central Time game, Packers at Eagles, a rematch of their Week 1 thriller. In this game, you have a lot going on. You have two quarterbacks coming off injury. Jalen Hurts coming off of a concussion. He's still technically in concussion protocol, but did practice today, Wednesday, the day of this recording. So chances are he is going to be. He is a limited participant, but anybody in concussion protocol
So is
will
Jordan
be a
Love.
limited participant in their first practice back. It's just kind of how it's supposed to be labeled.
Yeah.
So everything from what I've seen. If there's any real concern, it's if he is a limited participant all the way through Friday, then I would be concerned about the idea of Kenny Pickett having to start. But I don't think that's going to be the case. So under the assumption that both Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts play in this game, there's been a lot of talk about the Packers being a dangerous team this season. Still, like I've seen or heard a lot from national pundits, different NFL podcasts, talking about how Philadelphia shouldn't take this Packers team lightly. Well, I'm going to argue that we shouldn't take them that seriously. Not saying that they can't win and they can't surprise the Eagles, because that's definitely in the realm of possibility. However, they have not done well against teams that are doing well this season. I believe they've only won 2 games against teams with winning records. And then they almost went winless in their division this season.
Yeah, I mean 0-4 against us in Detroit.
And then 1-1 against Chicago. And they could have honestly gone 0-2 and gone 0-6 in that regard. And then what? You have a team that's instead of being 11-6 is 10-7. And I don't think anybody's going to think of this Packers team as a real contender. So you look at this Packers team. What are they good at? They're good on the offensive side of the ball. Now, they don't have a star at any given position in terms of skill. Short, you can look at their running back position, Jacob. Is it Jacob Joe? Why am I blanking on his name? This always happens whenever I get in a row. I always blank out on the.
Who's that supposed to be?
It's stat means Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Rodgers? Okay.
Josh Jacobs. Sorry, I don't know why I was gonna go. Yeah, you look at Josh Jacobs, and that might be the only semblance of a star that they have at the skill position group.
Maybe
And it's a lot of like receiver by committee, right? And then Jordan Love dealt with a lot of injuries this season, and I think because of that, didn't get to really take the next step in his development as a starter. And so we don't really know what like he is capable of in a full season in his second, after this second full season. Now, one thing that the Packers have shown, especially with their head coach, Matt LaFleur, he can develop QBs. I mean, Malik Willis, when he's come in to step in for Jordan Love, has proven himself to be capable, and they changed the offense up to match his skill set, which is a real shocker because a lot of coaches just don't fucking do that at all. So if you look at this Green Bay team, where do they have the edge? I think they have the edge at head coach. Now you look at the rest of that team. The offense, again, nobody that you should really be all that scared of. And then on defense, it's a team that's been living off of turnovers. But you know, Bethke, this kind of reminds me of what you said about UNT's defense, right? Living off turnovers, but you could probably get a touchdown on them when you really need it. And I think the same thing applies to this Packers team. This Packers team's front seven is kind of on the small side. So if you have an offensive line that can bully people like the Lions, the Eagles, Minnesota, you can move this front around and score on Green Bay.
I would argue the Vikings do not have a line that can bully people.
I mean, in the run game, maybe?
The Packers have been a top 5, top 10 rush defense all year in terms of yards and touchdowns. So I think you got to be able to throw on them and just don't throw it right to a cornerback because they've been getting a lot of that.
They've been doing a lot of it, but it's still not an elite defense by any means.
Like no, I just like the turnover. Some of the turnovers are good. I don't know. I don't think they create as many turnovers as they've had handed to them.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the guys who can at least capitalize on it. Like if the ball is thrown their way, they can catch it, which
they will catch it. Yeah,
which is more than some teams can say because somebody will throw right at them and butterfingers.
No, their rushing defense has been good, but I don't know that I would have to look at their full schedule. There's no one in except for maybe Detroit. The Vikings don't have a great rushing offense, so it's not like that was a real test for them. I think Saquon will be a much bigger test than what they've really seen this year, especially if it's Saquon and Jordan Love, which they didn't get to see week 1, right?
Yes, correct.
No,
they did see.
Sorry, I just mixing things up in my head there. That didn't make any sense. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, like I just don't. There's a reason this team is 11-6, and we're gonna see that.
I'm gonna brief pause so you can explain what's behind you. That's new.
Oh, that
something behind you. That's new. What is that?
Oh, painting. Oh, that's a painting
of.
So that is a geisha, I believe, and on like a lily pond. So
I see it now. Okay.
Yeah. So no, you're fine. Just to give context on that, I guess. One of
behind you in like every
episode.
Of the 2 years that we've done this.
True. So one of my my mother works at a nursing home, and one of her residents or whatever, they're like, "Oh, your son is going on a trip to Japan. He might like this painting." And so they just gave me this painting, and I was like, "All right, well, I don't know where to hang it up." And then I have free real estate right back there. It's not a lot of real estate space back there, but just enough to put that on there. So
I like it.
There we go. Thank you. Now back to the game at hand, though. Now talking about the Eagles. Listen, this Eagles team, we know what they are. They are a run-first team with 2 elite receivers on the outside, all right, and then a plus at the quarterback position, right? He can run downhill, so he's an added threat to that elite run game already, and he has a pretty deep ball, so he can hit those explosive plays. It's everything in between the numbers, where you kind of have your doubts about Jalen Hurts from time to time. Can he get in rhythm? And, he's missed the last 2 weeks with a concussion. How is he going to look? Right, the last full game that he played against the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was in rhythm, on target. He looked great. Can they get that back for this game? I don't know. When he played the Green Bay Packers on the first week of the season, he was giving them plenty of turnovers. All right, he was giving them the ball plenty of times, and yet still managed to lead the Eagles back into the game for the winning drive. Then you look at the Eagles defense. This is a team. It's really weird to say this is like a team with no stars on defense, but it kind of is when you consider that nobody had, outside of Zach Bond, who is not a household name, nobody had like an elite statistical season, right? And so it's a bunch of guys who are kind of no names, but are kind of not. And they put up one of the best seasons an Eagles defense has put out in the last 20 years, right? Since the Jim Johnson era. Listen, they have every starter available outside of Brandon Graham. And I just have every expectation that they are going to keep everything in front of them. And they may not be able to get to Jordan Love because there's not really a star pass rusher. I think they're going to present him with a lot of looks that's going to confuse him, frustrate him. And at the end of the day, I think the Philadelphia Eagles win a game that on the scoreboard might be close, but I don't think is actually that close if you watch it from kickoff to the final whistle. So there's that. My prediction, my preview on that. Gentlemen, what do we got? Bethke, tell me why two teams that you hate are going to end in a tie.
Yeah, it's
I like that rhyme.
It's just more enjoyable if the Eagles lose. So go Packers, I guess. And
right.
honestly, though, one thing I will say, I do think you're underrating how fat the Packers are on the defensive line. They're a bunch of fat dudes. And
they're not as fat as our offensive line.
It's a good offensive line, but they have a very annoying fat line. Like, I just think the Packers, like, that's kind of one of their keys to being just above average all the time, is they invest a lot on fat dudes on the defensive line.
Well, I mean,
So,
I'm going to go with.
They are a stupid team, though. I do agree that the Eagles should handle business, but I think it would be funnier
outside of quarterback injury or Saquon injury. Maybe I don't see any reason why you don't take care of business pretty handily there.
Yeah, but I think it'd be funnier if the Packers won. So that's what I'm going to root for.
Well, just so we're aware, right? The Eagles guards, 330 pounds for Landon Dickerson. Mekhi Becton, 360. Both guys outweigh the defensive tackles for the Packers. So in terms of just size and just how good they are, I'm not too worried about the Packers fat guys.
All right.
Now, if one of those guys has to leave the game and then the backups come in, then I'm going to be worried because our backups at the guard position are kind of iffy.
I was also going to make this a bit about them still needing to get y'all back for the 4th and 26 thing that they did.
They already did that, though.
Yeah, I looked back. I was like, when have the Eagles and Packers played? It feels like it hasn't happened in a while, and it hasn't. But the last time was when the Packers won the title.
Yeah, 2010. They came. I think the Eagles blew that game, if I remember, 21-16.
Michael Vick Eagles.
It was Michael Vick's first season back as a full-time starter, and that was. That one brings up some old wounds, but it's fun. It's fun.
They did get the lick back.
Different
quarterback, but they did get the lick back.
Absolutely. Different quarterbacks on both sides, actually. But yeah, that's the Eagles and that's the Packers. Wait, Patrick, did you give a prediction?
Yeah, I think y'all got this.
Awesome. All right, next game. Commanders at Bucks. They've already played this season, and it wasn't a particularly close game, if I remember correctly. I think the Bucks had one of those days where they were just super nuclear on offense and gave the Washington Commanders kind of an ass kicking, if memory serves correct. I'm going to look up their schedule right now. It was week 1. It was 37-20. And listen, these two teams have been drastically different since that week, right? I mean, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's a team that runs hot and cold. I mean, at one point, I believe they had lost 5 out of 6 games in the middle of the season. Then they go on a hot run to finish the end of the year, where they only lost 1 game since November, since the last week of November, right? And that was to Dallas. And then, they go out and they kick the shit out of Carolina, handle business against New Orleans, and here they are hosting a playoff game, winning their division. I'm not sure. This is one of the games where I'm not sure how it goes, because if Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield are on their shit, they are firing all cylinders. They're efficient, in rhythm, making those tough plays down the field when they have to. I think Tampa Bay wins this game, and I think they win it in a semi-convincing fashion, because I think Washington has been living life on the edge quite a bit all year long. And hey, credit to Jaden Daniels. He's been answering the call. He's been making plays. And when teams are fucking around and not making plays they're supposed to, and he gets onto that field, he takes advantage of that. He comes in clutch. However, I just think this Washington Commanders team is very similar to Denver in the sense that they are ahead of schedule. I think they're better than Denver overall. But I don't see. Maybe it's my bias. I don't see the Bucks losing this home playoff game to the Washington Commanders. I could be wrong, because Jaden Daniels does make enough plays. Terry McLaurin does make enough plays on the outside. But hey, so has Baker Mayfield. So has that Tampa Bay defense. They've made enough plays when they've needed it, especially during this win streak. And then Mike Evans, of course, the ageless wonder, who I believe finished this year with his 11th consecutive 1,000-yard season. So that guy continues to be a playmaker when it matters most. Oh, and then Bucky Irving, underrated running back for sure. So, with that said, I think Tampa Bay wins a close game. Like, this one might be the closest game of the Sunday slate. Becky, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going with the Gasparilla Bowl home team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There we go. Patrick,
Yeah,
what do you got for me?
I mean, just looking at Washington's schedule, the only good win they have is the one they got against you guys, and I don't think any of those other teams that they beat are worth talking about. So I don't really trust them at all. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, I trust Baker to get pretty far. Honestly, there's a scenario here where we
Can
get
you
to see-
imagine saying that sentence
Where we-
just a year ago?
Yes.
I trust Baker.
Hey,
Yes.
TB3, here comes the third championship for the franchise.
I think it was still crazy to me that Cleveland said they needed a more adult quarterback and moved on from him.
I think they meant
did.
adult in a different form.
Apparently. And it would be hilarious to see him versus Mahomes at the end of the year. I heard this reference on a podcast. I don't know if y'all remember when they went head to head in college.
Yes.
But they put up a crazy game offensively. I think it was like 50 to 40, 60 to 50, somewhere in there. But yeah, at least as far as this game goes, I trust Tampa Bay more. Washington could easily win because they do have pieces in place, but I don't trust them to do that against a slightly better team.
66 to 59 was the final score of that game.
Yeah. I think, did someone throw like 80 passes?
Mahomes definitely here. I'll look up the box score right now.
That box score, because I heard those. stats
Yes,
the other day.
Mahomes threw 88 times for 734 yards,
Can
5
you-
touchdowns.
Could you imagine the Super Bowl if we got those two together?
Well, they played together earlier this season. I don't think it was that crazy if I
No.
memory serves correct.
No, the game needs to matter.
But it's not for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, true.
And that game mattered to Baker because he was trying to prove that he was better than they thought he was in
And-
Tech when
and-
they let him walk. Anyways, yeah, all that to say, I think Tampa Bay wins this game.
All right, there we go. All right, and then finally, the last game of the wild card round. It is your Minnesota Vikings up against the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football. There's just something so wrong about a playoff game being on Monday Night Football, but I won't get into that.
Because they used to get the Saturday games, I think, right? And they would call those Monday Night Football, maybe.
It'd be Saturday Night Football presented by MNF or something like that.
Yeah.
Some really contrived title.
Which I would absolutely prefer to play on a Saturday or Sunday. I guess
Absolutely.
it's nice having all the extra rest. From
Yeah,
Monday
but then
to
you
Sunday
lose
night,
the
but
rest on the next round, which is kind of silly.
Monday to Sunday probably is how I think they would do it, maybe. But
Yeah, I think everything's on Sunday or Saturday and Sunday next week.
I don't think they
So it
would make
depends
us
on who
play a
you play.
Saturday game after a Monday. But
Yeah. Well, in this game, yeah, listen. The Rams, they're a team that fights, right? They are
They beat us.
and they did beat you guys.
one of two teams.
However, I just think they're too wildly inconsistent. The Rams have done a really good job in rebuilding that roster. When they were in the fuck them picks era, right? It just
I'm
looked
sorry.
like once that came
I'm sorry
crashing
to do
down.
this, Bethke, but it's absolutely hilarious that Jerry Jones a few years back picked them out as an example and was like, "See, you can't just."
That's
go
why I
all out
told you
like that."
they win in spite of Jerry Jones. Like it's
And then-
actually, I think it's helping them.
And they're back. They've run it right back.
They've been back to 2 playoffs since then, right?
Yeah.
That's my point. They win off of spite. So I actually appreciate the Rams a lot. That's why I'm picking the Rams. I want them to continue to spite Jerry Jones.
Now,
Stafford does scare me because the Vikings are kind of a hit or miss. If they can get a couple turnovers in the secondary, then I think we're good. But I also need Darnold to take 5 to 10% off some of those throws.
And I believe it was Stephen Jones, by the way, that said that dumb shit.
Okay, that makes sense. He's Cat Boy.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, going into this matchup, I'm just gonna look at some of the things that.
Yeah, it
Still
was
a question
Stephen.
of where they're going to play the game is pretty big too. I think.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
matters.
It does matter.
Right now, it is, but
I don't know if it necessarily. I don't know which team it hurts the mentals of more, but
I would
Well, I
assume
mean-
that these players for the Rams might be feeling a little stressed because of the fires. I don't know where all the players live.
there is a good possibility that some of these players have houses or families around that area.
I mean
for
Jordan
sure.
Addison might also. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I forgot he was a
USC.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
like I said, it's not
Darnold might
impossible.
live out there too. I don't know.
Yeah, so it's there could be that mental side of stress for this team, but this game could be kind of a way for them to just kind of live in the moment and kind of not necessarily forget about it, but put it on the back burner with the wildfires going on. But anyway, with this game, listen, you look at this Rams team. Matthew Stafford has seen every defense known to man. He's been in the league long enough that I'm sure whatever Brian Flores throws at him, he's probably seen that look once or twice already. It's just, can Matthew Stafford avoid throwing into tight windows? The man has unbelievable faith in his arm, and with good reason. He's had one of the strongest arms we've ever seen.
Greenard or Van Ginkel.
Can they? Who knows? But here's the thing: the Rams have been really good at giving Kyren Williams the ball and him getting enough yardage on those touches. And Matthew Stafford has been pretty good at taking care of the ball. Only 8 interceptions across 16 games played, right? And then, sure, the passing game hasn't always been immaculate, but that's because Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp have missed extended time all year long. They've had to rely on guys like Tutu Atwell, who I think is like 5'7". DeMarcus Robinson, not like a sexy name out there. A reliable depth piece for sure, but nothing too great.
4, I think.
Yeah. Colby Parkinson, Jordan Whittington, like these are guys that Matthew Stafford's had to rely on in the passing game with Puka Nacua missing games and Cooper Kupp. Well, now he has this full assortment of weapons available, I believe. So you look on the other side, you have a defense that I think is over or is outperforming expectations on the Vikings side. But not as much as I think as their quarterback has been outperforming expectations.
I think the defense is following the trend from last year, and
and listen, that credit to Brian Flores. He's done a great job doing a lot with a team that's still rebuilding its defense. So I look at now the Minnesota Vikings, right? This is a team that, hey, listen, Sam Darnold, 4,000 yards pass, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. This is the stat line that would get almost any QB into a Pro Bowl. And on some years, an all-pro team, whether all-pro first team, all-pro second team. That's the kind of stat line that he's put up. Now, we look at that last game of the season, and that was kind of textbook Darnold in a lot of drives.
I don't remember him having the problem where he's just slightly overthrown. Like his old problems were just completely losing his mind and taking
seeing
terrible
ghosts,
sacks
but like
or throwing,
he was missing a lot.
But he wasn't good. No, he was the first half. A lot of those throws.
I mean, he completed 43% of his passes. Like that's bad.
It was bad. It's the worst game maybe of his whole career per completion percentage wise.
I'm sure there's got to be a Jets game in there somewhere. But that's a look up for a different day. But yeah, it was his worst game of the season. One of the worst games he's had in quite some time. And that is after having a really great game against Green Bay, having really solid outings, actually the prior 4 weeks, right? And all season long, really. Does he shake that off? Does he get into rhythm against this LA team? This LA team is, they're 10-7, right? There's a reason they've lost 7 games. They're up and down when it comes to their performance week to week, whether it's on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. But the Rams have invested heavily into pass rush. Can this pass rush beat the Vikings offensive line and create pressure and get Sam Darnold out of rhythm and force him into a spot where he's missing throws? Or, like that Monday Night Football clip that was circled around for a while. He's like, I'm seeing ghosts out there. Can they do that? I'm not sure. I look at that offense for the Vikings and I just think, you know what? I think they're just a little bit more explosive right now than what the Rams are able to contain. So I think this is going to be a close game, but I think the Vikings get their lick back, and they advance to the next round. Becky, how do you see this game going? Who you got?
Rams.
That's right. All right, Patrick.
That's fair. I think the Vikings will win this game. This definitely feels like one of those Vikings teams that gets to the conference championship game and then gets blown out by somebody. So we'll see.
I have nothing to base it on other than 3 factors: misery loves company, Jerry Jones, fuck Jerry Jones, and for some reason, every time I just feel like I should pick the Rams, and I do, it seems to work out. I don't know if that's statistically accurate, but I feel
those numbers later.
I feel in my brain. I feel in my brain like me and the Rams connect. So we'll see.
Why does ESPN's website have the Super Bowl listed as Saturday, February 8th? Are they changing things up and I just don't know about it?
That'd be wild.
That might be just wrong.
No, it's listed as 2 different dates on 2 different places on the site. That's weird. I was trying to figure out because I have this funny thing where I've got a stupid January birthday, so quite often the Vikings lose right around my birthday. So I'm excited for that to potentially happen again this year.
I wouldn't be excited about it, but
it's a tradition.
That would be.
Fair
enough.
Celebrate another year of almost getting there.
All right, wait. When is your birthday this year?
It'll be right after the divisional round.
Okay. So you'll find out early enough.
It's not lined up on a date. I believe the Eagles beating us was on my birthday, though. That one was fun.
Oh, sorry about that.
Week after the miracle, though, it was a bittersweet month. Case Keenum really can't be too mad about that year. Anyways, we've probably killed enough time.
Fair enough. All right. Well, everybody, that's all I got. That's our playoff preview, our regular season reflection, and our coaching recap news. Y'all, good luck to you. Anybody whose teams are still in the playoffs, look forward to Bethke's Days of Our Lives Cowboys video series.
Oh, yeah, I'll probably finish up the 12 days at some point here now that I've got a sort of system running.
There you go. And
to
our YouTube audience, enjoy these last seconds of watching Bethke Sealy. With that, I bid y'all adieu. Patrick.
I was wondering what tugged whenever I put the thing up, and then I look up and I see.
You lose it, you never win.
Oh, boy!
That stuff is.
Yes!